وآل محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Respected brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum. The time is now 6:30, and inshallah we will begin our program this evening. As you know, we have a very packed agenda, so in the interest of time, we will begin our program promptly with the recitation of the Noble Quran, Surah Al-Fajr, number 89, by Brother Aman Musabji. Let's welcome him forward with a loud salawat.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والفجر وليال عشر والشفع والوتر والليل إذا يسر هل في ذلك قسم لذي حجر ألم تر كيف فعل ربك بعاد إرم ذات العماد التي لم يخلق مثلها في البلاد وثمود الذين جابوا الصخر بالواد وفرعون ذي الأوتاد الذين طغوا في البلاد فأكثروا فيها الفساد فصب عليهم ربك صوت عذاب إن ربك لبالمرصاد فأما الإنسان إذا ما ابتلاه ربه فأكرمه ونعمه فيقول ربي أكرمن وأما إذا ما ابتلاه فقدر عليه رزقه فيقول ربي أهانن كلا بل لا تكرمون اليتيم ولا تحاضون على طعام المسكين وتأكلون التراث أكلا لما وتحبون المال حبا جما كلا إذا دكت الأرض دكا دكا وجاء ربك والملك صفا صفا وجيء يومئذ بجهنم يومئذ يتذكر الإنسان وأنى له الذكرى يقول يا ليتني قدمت لحياتي فيومئذ لا يعذب عذابه أحد لا يوثق وثاقه أحد يا أيتها النفس المطمئنة ارجعي إلى ربك راضية مرضية فادخلي في عبادي وادخلي جنتي صدق الله العلي العظيم. In the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful, by the dawn, by the 10 nights, by the even and the odd, by the night when it departs, is there an oath in that for one possessing intellect? Have you not regarded how your Lord dealt with the people of Ad and Iram, the city of pillars, and the like of which was not created among cities, and the people of Thamud who hollowed out the rocks in the valley, and Pharaoh the impaler, those who rebelled against Allah in their cities, and caused much corruption in them? So your Lord poured on them lashes of punishment. Indeed, your Lord is in ambush. As for man, whenever his Lord tests him and grants him honor and blesses him, he says, my Lord has honored me. But when he tests him and tightens him for him his provision, he says, my Lord has humiliated me. No, indeed. No, you do not honor the orphan, and do not urge the feeding of the needy. You eat the inheritance rapaciously, and love wealth with much fondness. No, indeed. When the earth is leveled to a plain and your Lord's edict arrives with the angels in ranks, the day when hell is brought near, man will take admonition on that day. But what will that admonition avail him? He will say, alas, had I sent ahead for my life in the hereafter. On that day none shall punish as he punishes, and none shall bind as he binds. O soul at peace, return to your Lord, pleased and pleasing. Then enter among my servants and enter my paradise. Salawat.
Jazakallah, Brother Aman, for his recitation, for his sehat and salamti and khair wa barakat. Let's all recite a loud salawat for him. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Brothers and sisters, tonight will be the eve of the 10th of Muharram. On this solemn night, we particularly remember the youngest of the martyrs, the 6-month-old Hazrat Ali Asghar alayhi salam, who symbolized the pinnacle of innocence and vulnerability, and yet was shown no mercy by the heartless enemies. His sacrifice and martyrdom serve. As we proceed with tonight's program, may I forward to the podium at this time for his speech. If we could welcome him with a loud salawat. Allahumma salli. Oh, sister, I'm so sorry, sister. I'm very sorry. I'm very sorry. It's my mistake.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. Assalamu alaikum, dear brothers and sisters. Today we gather to reflect on a figure who embodies innocence and sacrifice, a character whose legacy transcends time and continues to inspire us in our lives. I want to discuss Hazrat Ali Asghar alayhi salam, the beloved son of Imam Hussein, and the lessons we can learn from his brief yet impactful life. Now, when we think of Ali Asghar, we often think of the heartbreaking moment at Karbala when he was brought to the battlefield. So we should take a moment to appreciate who Ali Asghar was before that tragic event. He was not just a child, he was a symbol of innocence and purity. Even as a child, Ali Asghar hoped to embody the traits that we should strive for: courage, faith, and resilience. As part of the new generation today that will lead tomorrow, we all have so much to learn from Ali Asghar. Imagine being in a situation where you are surrounded by conflicting chaos, yet still holding on to your innocence. This is what makes Ali Asghar's story so poignant. He was only 6 months old when the event of Karbala unfolded. Yet even at such a tender age, he has become a symbol of the struggle against oppression and tyranny. His presence on that battlefield serves as a reminder that even the youngest among us can inspire change and evoke profound emotions. One of the most striking lessons from Ali Asghar's life is the unwavering faith of his father, Imam Hussein alayhi salam. In the midst of a dire situation when water was scarce and hope seemed lost, Imam Hussein chose to uphold the values of compassion and love. When he brought his infant son to the battlefield, it wasn't just a desperate plea for water, it was a powerful statement against the cruelty and injustice of Yazid's regime. Imam Hussein demonstrated that even in the face of insurmountable odds, love for one's family and conviction in one's beliefs can shine through. Islam encourages us to reflect on the courage displayed by Ali Asghar. In his short life, he didn't have the chance to fight back or speak for himself, but his silent cry for help echoed through history. It reminds us that sometimes silence speaks louder than words. The way we carry ourselves in the face of adversity can inspire others to stand up for what is right. Every time we advocate for justice, we honor the memory of Ali Asghar and his family. Moreover, the events of Karbala remind us that the fight for justice and righteousness is not limited to those who are older or more experienced. Each one of us has a role to play. Whether we are students, professionals, or activists, we can all make a difference. Ali Asghar's story teaches us that our actions, no matter how small, can create ripples of change. As we gather at the masjid today, we should take a moment to reflect on the legacy of Hazrat Ali Asghar. We should remember that we are all part of a larger narrative. We have the power to stand against injustice, to be the voices for the voiceless, and to carry forward the message of love and sacrifice that Ali Asghar represents. In closing, we can always honor the memory of Hazrat Ali Asghar by embodying the traits he exemplified. Let's strive for innocence in our intentions, courage in our actions, and unwavering faith in our beliefs. Together, we can ensure that the lessons of Karbala live on in our hearts and in our lives. Ameen. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Adyan.
MashaAllah, Sister Adyan, for her sehat and salamti and khair wa barakat, let us all recite a loud salawat for her. صل على محمد وآل محمد. Please recite one more salawat. صل على محمد وآل محمد. Brothers and sisters, I would now like to share some important community announcements. This year's Ashura procession will take place tomorrow, Sunday, July 6th, from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Daily Center. I think I mentioned this last night as well. It won't actually be a full-on procession. It will be taking place at the Daily Center, primarily because of the permitting that was provided. Secondly, the registration for the Beit al-Ilm Academy Sunday School is now open for ages 2 to 15. For more information on this, please visit our website, or you can email the administration at sundayschool@beitalilm.org. Also, Beit al-Ilm has been hosting weekly ladies' majalis every Saturday at 11 a.m. These majalis are in English, and they will continue through August 30th. For more information, please visit our website. And lastly, the Who is Hussein chapter, Chicago chapter, will be hosting a back-to-school drive to help over 2,000 students in disadvantaged areas in Chicago. Please visit the booth upstairs to see how you can help. And one final reminder as we continue the program, if you could please take a moment to double check your cell phones to ensure that they are either on mute or on vibrate at this time. For our next presentation, we are exceptionally delighted to welcome the Shabab al-Mahdi Boys Youth Group. They have been working tirelessly over the last several weeks with a tremendous amount of credit to Brother Abbas Zaidi, who has been relentless in helping to support our youth. So as they are setting up and making their lines, why don't we welcome them with a very loud salawat. Salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Salawat Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
All our lives, son of Zahra, you're our guide. Son of Zahra, all our lives, son of Zahra, you're our guide. Without you by our side, there's no life we'll find. To be free, beauty is all we see. My master Salamu, Hussein, my master, we stand and hear your call, we're ready to answer. Hussein, my master, every year we'll shout out labbaik right under your banner. Hussein, my master, your land, take me by the hand. Near you I want to stand, to see your golden sand. Near you I want to stand. Master of martyrs, I'm far from your land. Choose us all by your side, young Hussein, to reach Karbala. Hussein, my master, we stand and hear your call, we're ready to answer. Hussein, my master, every year we'll shout out labbaik right under your banner. Hussein, my master, even though we're young we know there were younger that they slain in Karbala. Even though we're young we know we must be brave like your youngest Abdullah. Even though we're young we know If we follow your path, we'll hold our heads high with Zahra. Labbaika, my master. We're here to answer the call for help. You made alone, you won't be. Labbaika, my master. We've left our homes to come and answer your call. Tell us, can you see? Labbaika, my master. We will never forget what you've done for us for all eternity. Bi'ani anta ummi, ya Hussein. Hussein, my master. We stand and hear your call, we're ready to answer. Hussein, my master. Every year we'll shout out Labbaik right under your banner. Hussein, my master. Our pledge to you, to await our Savior. Our pledge to you, with the best behavior. Our pledge to you, to stay on your path, keeping close to Allah's Quran. Our pledge we all swear. Our pledge to you, until the time we see Imam Mahdi rise. Our pledge to you, to call his name, to serve your grandson Hussein, until the end of our days. Ya Amjad Allah, I know each year you cry blood for Hussein with each tear. I know, Ya Mahdi, you see and hear. We'll hold his banner high till you appear. Hussein, my master, we stand and hear your call, we're ready to answer. Hussein, my master, every year we'll shout out Labbaik right under your banner. Hussein, my master. Salawat.
MashaAllah, the Shabab al-Mahdi Youth Group always, actually never disappoint. Exceptional performance by these young mu'mineen of ours for their Sayyid Salamti and Khair al-Barakat, for their parents, as well as for Abbas Bhai, for again his devotion to these youth and guiding them. Let us all recite a very loud salawat for them. Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. Our next presentation, I would like to request Brother Musa Castilla to please come forward at this time for his poetry. Let's welcome him once again with a loud salawat.
Salawat Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. Inshallah, I hope to recite two pieces for you. The first one that I have for young Ali Asghar, who was in a sense of remembrance of Imam Ali. This next one is called The Lion That Never Roared. Please recite salawat. Ya Ali Asghar, oh the lion who never roared. Look at Karbala's shattered plain, crimson soaked and scorched by pain. Tents are torn, the sky is still, hope is bent beneath their will. A cradle rocks, though none remain, but wind and weeping call his name. The youngest warrior dressed in white would never see a battle's night. They fear your silence more than swords, so they silence you, O child of Nor. You were the lion that never roared, the Ali who never took the field of war. His name was Ali, his blood was pure, his glance held truth, his thirst endured. No shield to raise, no spear to wield, yet even infants shook their field. 6 months old, yet still a threat. Why else would archers aim and let? What foe did you become, O son? The arrows answer, what have you done? They feared your silence more than swords, so they silenced you, O child of Nor. You were the lion that never roared, the Ali who never held Zulfikar. Your father stood with trembling hands, raised you high, no call to harm. See this child, he means no fight, just one drop of water, give him life. But mercy died in Karbala, and justice wept in Ashura. The arrow flew, the cradle still, the sky turned red, the earth was filled. Oh, Ali, my son, my blood, my roar. Your lips were dry, your faith was more. You fell before you learned to crawl. The youngest martyr heard the call. Oh, Asghar, they fear what you become. Another Ali, another son. So they buried your voice beneath the sand and dropped your dream from Abba's hands. You were the lion that never never rose, the warrior wrapped in swaddled clothes. O cradle of Karbala, hold him tight, for no army was ever so right. Ali Asghar, you did not fall in vain. Your silence echoes in Hussein. Salawat.
MashaAllah, Brother Musa, for his sehat and salamati and khair barakat. Let us all recite a loud salawat for him. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Brothers, if I can kindly request if you could just please take a moment and if you could move forward as much as possible. I know it's still early, but as you guys have seen, once the lecture begins, there's a lot of people who start to trickle in. So if you can take a few steps forward, that would be wonderful. I would now like to recognize our generous sponsors for tonight's program. For the health, safety, and continued blessings. For the families of brothers Amjad Safavi and Musa Ali Naqvi, please recite a loud salawat for them. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. We've also received a special request from the sponsors for Dua Shifa for some of their relatives and friends who are ill. For their health and speedy recovery, and for anyone else in our community who is ill, let us all recite once again another loud salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. The sponsors have requested that you remember the marhumin of your families as well as the marhumin of their families. In particular, Sayyid Zia Abbas, Sayyid Hamid Ali Safavi, Nasim Safavi, Sayyid Mubarak Hussain Naqvi, Sayyid Mahmoud Hussain Naqvi, and Sayyida Naeem Zahra Naqvi. Please join me now in reciting a Surah Fatiha preceded by a Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Brothers and sisters, a quick update on our blood drive campaign. It appears we are now incredibly close to our goal of 138 registered donors. Since last night, 12 more individuals signed up, mashallah. And so we have 30 remaining slots, and we have 24 more hours to meet our goal. Brothers and sisters, let's not let Ashura pass without us achieving this target. I think if anyone is still on the fence, this is the time. So I will ask once again, if you are eligible to donate and haven't yet registered, please do so tonight in the name of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. You don't know whose life you will have saved because of your donation. Tomorrow, inshallah, I hope to stand before you and share that we have successfully achieved this goal. Now, as we turn towards tonight's lecture, once again, please double check your cell phones to make sure they are on mute or on vibrate. And with that, it is my privilege to kindly request Hujjatul Islam, Sayyid Sulayman Hasan Abidi, to please come to the minbar at this time. Let us all stand and welcome him with a loud salawat.
Surah Al-Fatiha. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين بارئ الخلائق أجمعين فاطر السماوات والأرضين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين المبعوث رحمة للعالمين شفيع المذنبين وحبيب قلوب الصادقين سيدنا ومولانا أبي القاسم محمد اللهم صل على محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم إلى قيام يوم الدين رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي أما بعد فقد قال الله عز وجل في القرآن المجيد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ومن يتق الله يجعل له مخرجا ويرزقه من حيث لا يحتسب ومن يتوكل على الله فهو حسبه إن الله بالغ أمره قد جعل الله لكل شيء قدرا صدق الله العلي العظيم صلوات
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. As we have been discussing over the past several nights, Allah says in the opening verses of Surah Al-Talaq a few messages of inspiration and guidance in how we are to live our lives, how we are to incorporate our faith into our decisions and into the difficulties and the challenges that we face within our life. Allah gives us words of guidance and hope in which He says, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, وَمَنْ يَتَّقِ اللَّهَ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا وَيَرْزُقْهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبْ. Whoever has piety, Allah will give them a way out of the difficulties they face. يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا. And Allah will give them sustenance from a source that they don't expect. وَيَرْزُقْهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبْ. And then Allah says that if you place your trust in Him, then you don't need any other source of strength or any other source of help. وَمَنْ يَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ فَهُوَ حَسْبُهُ. If you trust Allah, that is all you need. إِنَّ اللَّهَ بَالِغُ أَمْرِهِ. Allah has a plan and a decree, and that will be accomplished. None can overpower Allah or make Him forget or convince Him to change what He has decreed and destined, which is what is best for His creation. قَدْ جَعَلَ اللَّهُ لِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدْرًا. Allah has made a measure for everything within His creation. These verses are a guidance for us in the difficulties and the challenges that we face and that we see in our lives, and in particular, a crisis of faith. Now, faith is often understood in a narrow sense, as a matter of belief, as a matter of identity, or maybe If people understand that faith is to come into our lives, then they expand it and extend it to the level of our individual actions. But what we have tried to understand over the course of the last several nights is that, first of all, we cannot deny that there is a crisis that we are living within. Some people, they see the world is going to destruction around them. They know the suffering and the wars and the injustice, but because their own lives are not affected, and they have their basic needs and maybe even many of their wants, they don't feel like they personally have a crisis. But if you look at the world around you, you see that there are people now who are elected to office or who are holding power over the lives and the destinies of millions of people who, if you were to write fiction and you were to describe those rulers in your fiction, then people who read it might say that this is a little bit too far-fetched. It is unreasonable. It isn't realistic. There are things that take place that we could not imagine would take place in real life before the eyes of the world, and people's conscience would not be affected. People's lives would not be affected. People would not be up in arms, and yet they would live their lives and go to bed every night and wake up every morning as if nothing were going on, as if what happens in the external world does not affect us in our bubble, and what happens in our society does not affect us within our soul. So the first step is to realize and to feel that there is a crisis, whether I myself am suffering psychologically and emotionally and spiritually and economically, or whether I am not suffering on one level or another level. But if my world is being destroyed, and if the purpose for which God has created human beings is mocked, is trampled, and people's basic dignity and their basic needs are not only unmet, but are deliberately trampled, then that is a crisis. The second step is for us to realize that these are not political crises. These are not social crises. These are not economic crises, because we tend to compartmentalize things and say, well, this is a political problem. This is a social problem. This is a matter of my private life. This is an issue of public concern. All of these compartments that we make, they are just products of our own ignorance and our own limitations. Otherwise, the public sphere affects my private life and my thoughts, and my private life and intentions affects the public sphere in ways that I perceive and in ways that I don't perceive. Social issues and economic issues, international issues and domestic issues and even local issues, they are all connected. Because Allah has created heaven and earth with a purpose, and that purpose is what is right and what is good and what is just and what is true. And when any levels of that purpose and that command of God is flouted or is disobeyed, then it destroys the beauty and the equilibrium within the entirety of God's creation. Sometimes we can perceive it and sometimes we cannot. So the first stage of our discussion is not to let ourselves live in a bubble and say, well, life is pretty good here. Yes, there is a war abroad, but I am not going to be drafted and I am not suffering. Yes, there are some people whose citizenship is going to be taken from them without justification, but I was a born citizen. Those who are naturalized, they need to worry about it. They should find legal representation. Yes, there are people perhaps whose basic needs in order to access insurance or access food is now in jeopardy, or their safety, even if they leave home to go to work or to go to school or even to go to a hospital for treatment for a loved one, is now in jeopardy, but I am not too worried. And if your skin is a little bit lighter than mine, I still, even if I was born in America, I still might look like a foreigner depending on how prejudiced the person is. But if you can blend in, then maybe you think I just need to change my name, choose a nickname that isn't going to be perceptible, and dress a certain way and talk with a certain kind of disarming charm, and I should be safe. Our first step was to say that no, whether or not you are currently being personally affected, when Allah's will and command is being dishonored on any level and anywhere within the earth, then that is a crisis that affects you and me personally, because we are the stewards and we are the ones responsible for upholding and for ensuring that the command of Allah is applied and that it is fulfilled. That is an obligation that all of us have. So we are all in crisis. Then the second stage is for us to realize that that is not a crisis in politics or a crisis in society or a crisis of education or a crisis of access to technology or any other limited area. It is not about one compartment of our life, but it is a crisis of faith. Because everything that touches our responsibility and our soul and our actions, every part of our existence is related to our faith. There is no limb within our body, there is no organ, there is no action, there is no decision, there is no responsibility that you and I have that is not connected to our faith. And if any one of those elements is weak, then that means that my faith is weak and it is deficient. And if there is a breach in one wall of my faith, then unless I repair it and I protect it, that disease, it may spread, that weakness, it may cause the enemy to attack, and my faith itself will be at risk. So I can't say that I'm good, but yes, I am a little bit quick to get angry. I'm a good believer, but I am a little bit lazy. I am a good believer, but my eyes are not entirely within my control. I have faith in Allah, but sometimes I like to listen to music that is haram or gossip or vulgarity. It's just something that, is one of my weaknesses. That is a crisis of faith, even if I don't see that as a weakness within my faith. And so we said that there are 3 levels that we can understand that crisis of faith. One is that first level of what should we believe and affirm within our soul. We believe in God, we believe in His Prophet and the revelation sent to our Prophet, and we believe in the attributes of Allah, that He has given us free will for a purpose, that He has created that free will such that things that we think of as evil exist, but even those things that we perceive as maybe being evil, they are merely beyond our horizon of understanding, and they are part of the wisdom and the plan of Allah. And it is the beauty of His creation that He has given us free will so that we can either excel and ascend, or we can choose another outcome and destiny for our existence. So the first stage is what should we affirm and what should we believe? Then another stage is our own lives and what should we do? Because فرض الله الإيمان على جوارح بني آدم. Faith has been commanded and ordained by God within our limbs. So the second stage is not just what do I affirm within my heart, but what do I say and what do I do and how do I live my life. But that too is not the end. And it is a tragedy sometimes. We see, alhamdulillah, in the beginning, in the front of our gathering, we see so many young mu'mineen. Many of you have great dreams of what you will do for the sake of Allah, of how you will create a change within society, a revolution within society to bring it towards what is better. And then those of us who are a little bit older, we realize sometimes that we too had those great aspirations of, if Allah just gave us the ability, if Allah just gave us the money, if Allah just gave us the opportunity, then we would do so many things. And then what happens? We get a little bit older, we get a little bit more easy to get tired, we get a little bit more busy with our families, and we say, if I can go to Jum'ah, and if I can go to Dua Kumail, and if I can sponsor a Majlis every now and then, and I can help out and do a sacrifice of an animal, an udhiyah, a qurbani, then, that's pretty good. Many of us, Allah has given us not only what we thought we would want to be able to change the world, but much more than that. And yet our horizons, they come down. And so if the first level is what should we believe and what should we affirm, and the second level is how we should live our life and our faith in practice, then the third level is for us to think and to aspire towards that global level. What is the potential and the promise of a community that is taught by God who is their creator and who is their prophet, and what is the revelation and the command of their prophet, and who are their imams, and who know what is the example of their imams, what should be our message to society, what should be our willingness to serve and to offer and to dedicate ourselves towards the betterment of humanity. And all of these are different levels of a crisis of faith, whether we appreciate it or not. Some of us, we may have questions, why do we believe this? Some of us, we may have deficiencies in practice. And I think all of us, we can agree that as a community and as a collective, when there is so much evil in society, we all have a crisis in not being able to stand up and affirm and ensure that we will be a force to fight against evil and oppression, not just symbolically and not just theoretically, but in actual practice and effectively. And today being the day of Ashura and the day of Tasu'ah and the eve of Ashura, the day of the 9th of Muharram and the eve of the 10th of Muharram, that tells us how all of those different levels, they draw together and they give us guidance and inspiration. When I say that there is a crisis on a global level, that doesn't mean that we can go tomorrow and we can solve those problems. But we learn from Karbala what is the source and what is the root of the solution to all of those problems, whether they be the largest problems of a global and encompassing the entirety of the human family, or whether they be the most intimate and individual crises that we have of our own faith, belief, and our own practice. Yesterday we mentioned one aspect of that, which is what happens to Islam after the death of our Prophet Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa alihi. Brothers, Ya Ali. Brothers, if we can request you to move forward and make way for those who are going to be joining us with salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Yesterday we looked at one aspect of that crisis, and one which has affected the destiny of the Muslims from the time our Prophet left this world until the present time, and it will continue to affect us until the Day of Judgment. And that right which was stolen from Ahlul Bayt is returned to them. And that is who is to be the guide and the leader of the Muslim world after the death of the Prophet. One important point for us to understand is that sometimes we idealize our agency and our choice or democracy in a way that actually undermines our own choice and our own best interest. That is a product of a satanic system, that you can have 40 varieties of ice cream that you can buy whenever you want. And you can have an infinite number of varieties for meaningless decisions, for entertainment, for food, for apparel, for sports. But when it comes to meaningful decisions within your life, you can go from one political party to another, you can go from one place to another, and you will find that your choices are far more constrained. That which is actually meaningful and that which actually affects the quality of your life and that which actually affects your salvation and your destiny and that of humanity, that agency and that choice does not find the same sanctity within society. So right now, if I decide that I want to live a life and I want to raise my family in an environment of innocence, where our eyes and our ears and our societies are not going to be poisoned from a very young age by every manner of spiritual and religious and moral poison, then you would have an easier time finding a pot of gold at the end of a rainbow than being able to create that safe environment. Why? And that is because that choice, which is the most beautiful choice and the most important choice for a society and for a family and for an individual, it doesn't even register in the minds of people who are influential and make decisions within society. But yes, if you want to go and get ice cream, you have an unlimited number of choices. If you go and want to watch comedy for entertainment, then you have an unlimited number of choices. Any shallow or superficial decision, that is going to be there for you. But the reality is that if you don't have choice at that higher level, then your existence is not going to be able to become a truly human and a truly sublime existence. We will be kept at that level of our material and our animal existence. Because the purpose of these material resources was for us to elevate ourselves and to live a life of the soul and the spirit and of working for the pleasure of Allah Azza wa Jal. And that is the irony, that those Muslims who say that Muslims can choose, have a caliph, do it by consensus, do it by coup, do it just by killing the previous caliph and putting yourself in his place. They thought that they were going to honor the choice of the people and make sure that, Ahlul Bayt, in the words of some of our caliphs, we don't want Ahlul Bayt to just have a monopoly on the authority and think that they are special. But did that give choice? Did that give agency? Did that give liberation? Or was that the prison that has kept the Muslims in hardship and suffering and oppression for 14 centuries already? And God knows when it will come. We pray that it will be soon. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Now this might seem like a very comprehensive issue, and we might wonder, where do we start? If the crisis is so great that it's hard for me to even say how I can have a wholesome environment for me as an individual, or for a family, or for my own practice. And even if I carve out that very pious circle of friends and community, then what about the global problems, the suffering that we have? Yesterday we wanted to draw a link, and I don't know how effectively we were able to show that your relationship to Ahlul Bayt and your relationship to your family, they are of the same nature and of the same substance and essence. Meaning that if you want to solve that global problem, then you don't need to just think about what you can do for the entire world. You start with what you can do for yourself, and then you create a foundation, and the foundation that you and I can create and that we have been taught to create is because of our love for Prophet Muhammad and Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salatu wassalam, work to establish a family that creates a legacy and passes on a legacy of obedience and following the path of our Prophet. Sometimes when I talk to people, they are hesitant to get married because they don't know if they are going to find the right person or the person they are speaking to is the right person. And a lot of times we make decisions more difficult for ourselves than they need to be, because This might make it easier for you or more difficult, I don't know, you will be the judge. But in many cases, we put a lot of pressure because we think a lot is riding on our decision. But all that is riding on your decision is for you to do your best. Beyond that, it is the help of Allah, the tawfiq of Allah, that is going to write your destiny far more than you are going to do with your own actions. And so sometimes when people have a difficult decision and they're wondering, should I do this or should I do that? Should I go forward or should I not? Is this the right decision? It's the most momentous decision in my life. No decision is the most momentous decision in your life other than your decision to obey and follow and worship Allah. Not your marriage, not your career, not the house that you're going to buy, not a business that you're going to start. All of those things, you do your best research, you consult, you use your experience, you use your education, you find out what is the most wise and the most prudent course. But it's not riding on your decision in the end. You can make the wisest decision. If Allah hasn't decreed for it to reach its conclusion, then the most prudent and the most clever planning will end in nothing. And if you trust in Allah, then even if you have imperfect information, Allah will provide barakah and He will provide blessing. And وَيَرْزُقْهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبْ. And then this is an increasing problem. Those of you who may have family that has recently gotten married or may help people, you may have experienced it. Sheikh Azhar, I don't know if you've experienced this, or Sheikh Rizwan, in your circle of people that you counsel. Very frequently I have people that come a year after they're married or 2 years after they're married. I'm not sure if this is maybe a mistake that I made. Extreme cases are separate. When there is an extreme case, there is a clear reason why you say that there is another solution. But in many cases, it's simply, I gave it a good 6 months, I gave it a good year, I gave it a good year. And a year into my marriage, I didn't even know if I was the right person for myself or for my spouse. So how would I know whether my spouse is right and whether the relationship is right? In general, it's because we are not willing to change, we are not willing to grow, we are not willing to learn, we are not willing to ask, we are not willing to invest. That we come 6 months, a year, 2 years, even I would say 3 years, and I would go further, but I'm afraid that I'm going to scare you. And then we say, well, I'm not sure this was right. It is a lifetime of investment that allows a child to grow up and mature into an adult. Not only that is able to brush their own teeth and do their own laundry without their mother calling them in college and making sure that they did it, but in order to be able to affirm the values and the principles that their parents raised them to uphold. That is a lifelong project, not until the child is 15 or 18 or 20 or 40. That so long as there is a relationship, a parent, a grandparent, then that work of guiding and training, it continues. Even if the elder grows into old age and begins to forget. And the young child might feel like, now I have grown into adult and I am an expert. The same thing is true of our marriages and our relationships and all of our work. It is a lifelong process of seeing how it can be that we use what we have been given for the sake of Allah and not for our own purposes. So in the past we have talked about that level of belief, the level of practice, the level of our relationships, and the sanctity of those relationships, because the most important thing that you can do in your life, beyond whatever money you can earn or whatever money you can donate or whatever great monuments you can build to yourself or to whatever ideals or ideas you may have, it is a living legacy that you create and that you pass on through people whose lives you affect, whether it be your relatives, whether it be your own children, whether it be students that you may teach. Those living legacies, that is the most important thing and the most powerful thing that you can offer after yourself, that give you immortality. Nothing material can give you immortality. But if you create a living legacy of worship, of goodness, of obedience to Allah that lives beyond yourself, so long as the effect is there, so long as the intention still lives, then even if you are no longer alive, and even if no one remembers your name, you are alive. And in fact, that is true even of our material legacy. Many people, they have a question of what they should do with what Allah has given them. Many people, they have a problem that they have been given so much that they lose themselves in terms of what they should do with their wealth. There's a very beautiful incident which is narrated in different sources. It's also found in Nahj al-Balagha, where Imam Ali deals with two brothers. Rabi' ibn Ziyad, in Nahj al-Balagha the name is Ala ibn Ziyad. There is a difference of opinion, but more authentically it was presumably Rabi' ibn Ziyad al-Harithi and Asim ibn Ziyad. These two brothers, they lived in Basra. And when Imam Ali came to Basra, he visited Rabi' ibn Ziyad. Rabi' ibn Ziyad, he had been injured and he had a pain that would come, according to historical reports, because an arrow had come and injured him in the temple. And so periodically that pain would flame up and it would cause him immense difficulty. And so Imam Ali visited him, a sick visit, iyada, and he said, "How do you find yourself?" He said that I am in such pain that if Allah were to ask me, would you rather keep your eyesight or be saved from this pain? He said that I would willingly give up my eyesight just to be safe from this pain. Imam Ali said, "All right, what do you think of your eyesight? How important is your eyesight to you?" He said, "Well, my eyesight is valuable enough to me that if I owned all of the wealth of the entire world, I would gladly give up all of the wealth so I would have my eyesight." You can imagine how much pain that person was in, that he would give up his eyesight, which he valued as more than the wealth of the entire world, because you wouldn't fully enjoy it if you can't even see it. And then Imam Ali said, and this is a word of consolation for all of us when we have a very difficult burden, and many people in our time, we are suffering various hardships or difficulties. The Imam said that Allah knows the extent to which this pain that you have weighs down upon your heart. And know that the reward of Allah, if you are patient, is in accordance with what you are suffering. It doesn't matter if anybody else can see it. And they might just say that you're a little bit sick. They don't know what is in your heart and what is the difficulty, whether it be physical pain or emotional pain or the sense of loss in a relationship or anything else within your life. The extent of what you are going through is going to determine the reward that Allah will give you if you are patient and you are trusting in Allah. Then Imam Ali, he looked around. And Rabi' ibn Ziyad had a big house. And so he said, "Ma kunta tasna'u bisi'ati hadhihi ad-dar fi ad-dunya." I know some of you have big houses. So imagine if Imam Ali comes to visit you and you call the cleaning service to come early that week, and maybe if you have some statues or some pictures that you don't want to show Imam Ali, you cover them up with a curtain. Hopefully you don't. And you make the environment beautiful and you say, "Imam Ali, welcome into my house." And Imam Ali steps in the door. He says, "Ma kunta tasna'u bisa'ati hadhihi ad-dar fi ad-dunya. Ama anta ilayha fi al-akhirati kunta ahwaj." What are you going to do with this big house? You would need it more in the hereafter. All of a sudden we would melt into the ground if we were able to, even if it were December and not June or July. And the Imam says, "Ama in shit, balaghta biha al-akhirah." But if you wish, This house, it can bring you to the hereafter. Just like your relationships are a window to the hereafter, even your material possessions can either take you away from the hereafter, if I say mine, or they can bring you to the hereafter. First the Imam said, why did you get such a big house? But now that you have it, you don't only need to be embarrassed. In شئت بلغت بها الآخرة. You can get to the akhirah through this big house, this wonderful possession that you have. And how? تقري فيها الضيف. You can host guests within this house. وتصل فيها الرحم. And you can connect your relationship and you can invite and host your family members within this house. وتطلع منها الحقوق مطالعها. And all of those obligations that you owe to people, when they come and they visit you, and just as they're plugging your home address into the GPS, into the map apps, they're also plugging it into Redfin to see how much you paid and how much it's worth. Right? Don't tell me you haven't done that ever. But Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, and as you recite salawat, please move forward. Please continue to move forward, and once again, salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. I'll also take that as a hint not to pursue that line of discussion. But let's say as the family, as people see that you have a big house, تُطْلِعُ مِنْهَا الْحُقُوقَ مَطَالِعَهَا. Then think of that not as people are so nosy and people are jealous. No, think of that as this is an opportunity for me to tell people that yes, this is the car I drive. My car is worth more than you earn in 2 years. But that's there because I want to say to you that I am there for you. Alhamdulillah has blessed me. But I consider this to be a gift that has made me more obligated. تقري فيها الضيف وتصل فيها الرحم وتطلع منها الحقوق مطالعها. Do these things. وإن فعلت ذلك بلغت بها الآخرة. If you do these things, then you will be able to attain the hereafter. Now, there is a rebuke. It is a gentle rebuke, but it is a rebuke. That have a house that is big enough for you, but don't get a house that is just there to show off. So the Imam, he said, ما كنت تصنع بسعة هذه الدار في الدنيا. That is a slight rebuke, although to have a big enough house to accommodate yourself and your family is a good thing. Those of you who are buying a house, then I encourage you, buy a house where if you are not living with your parents, you have factored in that maybe my parents or my in-laws, they might one day need my assistance and I might want to take care of them. So buy a house that is big enough not just for your needs. You know how some people, they buy a very small car and you say it's not enough for your family. That's by design. It's a bug, not a feature. No, buy it big enough so that it is enough for your future needs. And those of you who may invite your parents, a reminder from an Islamic perspective, don't ever say that my parents live with me. If you buy the house, if you support your parents, if you are taking care of them, and even if you're sometimes frustrating that they are not appreciative, you are living with them. Material wealth is the it's the most worthless thing that God has created. The most that you are giving them is something material. And the least that they are giving you is something spiritual. So even if you are supporting them, and even if you are taking care of them, don't say, yes, my parents live with me. I put them in the basement. Again, I know that my invitation here is not determined by whether people like the speech or not, so I can say these things. But if your parents are living with you, give them the master bedroom, and you take the corner suite. That would be the ideal. If they are saying that they don't want that, then that is Their grace. But these are the values that we have within Islam. These are the principles that we have in Islam. Now sometimes those values, they are honored more in the breach than in the observance, I understand that. But even if we are not always able to honor them, then we should affirm them and aspire to them. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Then Rabi' ibn Ziyad says, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, I complained to you about my brother. Imam said, what happened? Said that he has dressed as mendicants dress, people who have abandoned the world, rough clothing, left his family, and is just going to worship Allah. Imam said, bring him to me, Asim ibn Ziyad. Now notice the difference. It's a gentle rebuke, that you went maybe a little bit overboard in the big house that you bought, but to have a big house and a spacious house where you can take care of your parents, you can take care of your relatives, and you can host a majlis, and you can do so many other things, that is a good thing. So it was a gentle rebuke. But when Asim comes, what does Imam Ali say? Ya udayya nafsih, laqad istahamaka bika al-khabith. Oh, enemy of your own soul, shaitan has taken over you. Ama rahimta ahlaka wa waladak. Couldn't you have mercy on your family and your children? أترى أن الله أحل لك الطيبات وهو يكره أن تأخذها أنت أهون على الله من ذلك. Do you think that God has permitted you the good things of this world, and then God is going to prohibit you to use those good things? Is Allah playing games with you? You know those videos they have of the Turkish ice cream sellers? That here, take it, no, don't take it. Take it, no, don't take it. Is Allah saying here, this is the world? Nope, don't take it. أترى أن الله أحل لك الطيبات وهو يكره أن تأخذها أنت أهون على الله من ذلك. You're nobody in the eyes of Allah. You think that if you eat a good meal, Allah's wealth is going to be decreased? You think that if you have a good house, all of a sudden Allah's going to say to Jibreel, what's going on with our accounts? We're short today. This country is going to have to go hungry. أنت أهون على الله من ذلك. You're nobody. What happened here? If we saw those two people, one in that luxurious house, what are the very luxurious neighborhoods in this area? I don't want to say them. That person with a fancy car, a big house, a good life, that's Rabi' ibn Ziyad. And then the other person, simple clothes, they're both from a noble family, from a wealthy family. Other person just praying and fasting and worshipping. Who would we think is closer to the heart of Amir al-Mu'mineen? All of us would say, Asim ibn Ziyad is the one who resembles Amir al-Mu'mineen. But notice how for Rabi' ibn Ziyad, Imam Ali is gently saying that, you didn't need this big a house. But now that you have it, you can still use it to get to Akhirah. But then when it comes to Rabi' ibn Ziyad, who has said no to the entire world, when it comes to Asim ibn Ziyad, who has said no to the entire world, Imam Ali alayhi salam says, you have fallen prey to shaitan. You have no mercy to your wife and to your kids. You are nobody in the eyes of Allah to think that Allah cares that much if you are to have a good meal or to have a good house or to wear good clothes or to live a good life. And then Asim says, Amirul Mu'mineen, Anta fi khushunati malbasik wa jushubati ma'kadik. What about your food and your clothing? And Imam Ali says, Wayhak, anarastuka ant. Woe be to you. I am not like you. If I dress like this and I eat like this, it is not because I want to say to Allah, look at how special I am, I turn my back to the world. It is because I have a responsibility. Allah has obligated the leaders of the Muslims to live in such a way that even the poorest member of society will not say that I don't have anything. They will be able to say that my Imam does not live any better than I do. My Imam does not eat any better than I do. My Imam does not wear anything better than I do. This is not because of me. This is because of my responsibility. You have a responsibility. And if your children are going to turn against you because you are stingy, and if your wife is going to turn against you because you are harsh, and if your own family is not going to accept you, then remember the way that you honor Allah is by being present and being a good influence within your family. If you have turned your back on your family, or your family is going to turn their back on you because of how you are, then what is there between you and Imam Ali? What connection is there? And that is what we find in the example of Imam Hussein alayhi salam and the way that he raised his family. Today we are going to remember one of those tragic moments in the story of Karbala when Imam Hussein offered a precious offering in the eyes of Allah. But before we speak about that offering and that young martyr whose name we heard mention of earlier at the beginning of the program, imagine that Imam Ali raised his family. Ali Akbar did not just grow up to be such a beautiful person on his own. When Ali Asghar was born, the Imam did not just say that we have a new child. From the naming to the prayers to the walima to the aqiqah, everything was to add another member of the household of the Prophet who would live up to the example of the Prophet and the teachings of our Prophet, and who would be a representative of the perfection of Islam and the beauty of Islamic teachings. Imam Hussein alayhi salam composed poetry in praise of his wife and for his children, and he would lovingly spend time with Sakina, with Ali al-Asghar, because these were the offering that he was raising for the pleasure of Allah. But Allah had decreed that Ali al-Asghar was going to be a soldier for the cause of Islam. We have heard that there were old soldiers on the day of Ashura, like Muslim ibn Awsaja, who went to the battlefield with a bent back and a long white beard. And there were other soldiers who were so young that there was no helmet or no armor that could fit them, like Qasim, the son of Imam Hasan. But imagine a soldier who was so young, so innocent, that he couldn't walk at all, not with a bent back and a cane, not without armor. But according to some narrations, after all had been martyred, Imam Hussein called out, هَلْ مِنْ ذَابٍ يَذُبُّ عَنْ حَرَمِ رَسُولِ اللَّهِ هَلْ مِنْ مُعِينٍ يُعِينُنَا? Is there anyone who will help us? هَلْ مِنْ مُغِيثٍ يَرْجُ اللَّهَ فِي إِغَاثَتِنَا? Is there anyone who loves Allah such that they are going to come to our assistance at this moment? هَلْ مِنْ مُوَحِّدٍ يَخَافُ اللَّهَ فِينَا? Is there anyone who believes in God, who will not leave the people of God alone on the battle of Karbala? According to some narrations, there was a commotion and a cry that came out from among the tent of the women. And when Imam Hussein came to see what that commotion is, it is said that Zainab told Imam Hussein, when your son heard your word, it was as if energy came to him in spite of his thirst and weakness, and he answered your call. According to some narrations, Lady Zainab brought Ali Asghar or Abdullah al-Radi to the presence of the Imam and said that, "O Imam, if you have given your final call, then I ask you, your son is now on the verge of death. Go and see if you can find some water for him." Abbas alayhi salam went to the Euphrates, but he was not able to bring back water. All of the other children, although they are thirsty, they have quieted themselves, knowing that you are now alone. They are in mourning at your departure. But Ali al-Asghar, I fear that he will not survive the night. Imam Hussein took his son in his arms and lovingly cradled him and covered him with his cloak so the heat of the sun would not burn him. And then the Imam went. History says that when the Imam went to face the enemy, when he would go to battle, he would ride a horse. And when he would go to speak to them, he would ride a camel. But now for the first time, the enemy saw that the Imam is coming to them on foot alone, with something cradled in his arms. They didn't know what it was that the Imam had in his arms until the Imam called out, "If the elders are criminals in your eyes, then tell me, what crime has a 6-month-old baby committed? If you will not give water to us, then one of you take this child and give him water so he will not die of thirst. And even in the enemy army, who had committed so many crimes and murdered so many of the noblest servants of Allah on that day, there was a commotion, and some began to weep, and some began to say that this infant child, and it's so beautiful and innocent that we should not deprive it of water. And Umar ibn Sa'd saw that even if the soldiers who came from Imam Hussein's camp, though they killed many of the wretched army of Ibn Sa'd, were not able to fully defeat Ibn Sa'd, if a few more moments of the innocence of Ali Asghar and the tears of Imam Hussein stayed in front of the army, then Ali al-Asghar might single-handedly defeat that army of thousands without raising a sword, without shooting an arrow, without throwing a spear. Umar ibn Sa'd turned to his archer Hanbala. He said, "Iqta' niza' al-qawm," or according to one narration, "Iqta' kalam al-Husayn," O Harmala, end this dispute among my army, and the speech of Imam Hussein. And Harmala threw an arrow in it, put an arrow in his bow that had 3 points. It is said that when that arrow was thrown, it lodged itself in the throat of Ali Asghar, and it was as if that child was slaughtered from ear to ear. When the weapon came into the body of Ali Asghar, it is said that Ali Asghar, he raised his hands towards his father, and in his final moments, although he could not speak, he hugged his father as if to bid farewell. Imam Hussein did not know what to say, where to turn, what to do. He turned his head towards the heavens. He said, "Uhkum baynana." Oh Allah, settle this matter between us and the people who called us and then abandoned us and then killed us. And in that desperation, a voice came from the heavens and addressed Imam Hussein. Your child was killed hungry. Your child was killed thirsty. Ya Hussein, da'hu fa'inna lahu murdan fil jannah. Oh Hussein, leave. There will be provisions for him to be nursed in the heavenly company. Imam Hussein bid farewell to his son. There was one grave dug on Ashura with his own hands. Imam Hussein dug a shallow grave and buried Ali Asghar, perhaps hoping to protect his son from the indignity of his head being cut off and raised on a spear. But when the day of Ashura came to an end and the captives left Karbala, Rabah, whenever she would lift her head, she would see the head of her beloved son raised on a spear. Oh Allah, on this eve of Ashura, when the Imam prepared his soldiers for battle, prepared us to also enter battle against the temptations of shaitan, against any evil inclinations that we may have. Oh Allah, if you did not destine that we were to be with Imam Hussein in Karbala, keep us with Imam Hussein in our heart and in our intentions and in our actions for as long as we live. Oh Allah, give us the company of Muhammad wa ali Muhammad in the hereafter, and hasten the appearance of the Imam of our time. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Brothers and sisters, please proceed upstairs for the program in the masjid.